Well, that's another week done, guys. You've done, and it's over. Another week done, and another day is beginning, which happens to be the start of a new week as well. Good morning, and welcome to Sunday mornings here at Rhema CC. I am Lindy. I'm your Sunday morning host, and yes, well done. You've made it through yet another week. Perhaps a crazy week. I don't know about you guys, but we have felt the enormity of the floods this week. It's been a bit strange with that, all sorts of weird things happening. Hope you guys have survived a little bit more than some of those who are actually feeling it more fully today, and perhaps in the next few weeks, next few weeks to few months. I think it's one of those things when these tragedies and circumstances that are a bit challenging pop up. It can be easy for us to sort of just move on and just forget the people still living amongst the aftermath of that. So I think it's, a good reminder for us to just sort of look back today and go, wow, that's been a week, but it's probably going to be a few weeks to a few months, perhaps even a couple of years, for those whose homes have been destroyed, whose lives have been a little bit more shaken this week. But yeah, you've made it. Generally, we've made it, guys. We have made it through another week, and I hope and pray you have felt God's presence in all of it. He is a God who is in those moments that are not so certain, the moments that we're sort of scratching our heads going, what now? How, I didn't see this happening. He's in it, and there's some assurance in that. I hope and pray you fully know that to the core of your being, that he is not a God who can be swayed. I actually picked my kids up on Monday. The school that they attend was evacuated due to flooding in the area. And it was a bit strange, but it was just so, it was interesting. As I was driving, those words that you often, biblically, we don't sort of realise that we hold on to until something happens, and then you just sort of just can come back to it. I know I had a lot of lyrics from songs that were just kind of just playing over my head where, you just, I as an example was, I can't think of the actual song, but the words are, rains came, winds blew, my house was built on you. And I think that, sometimes when things are a bit shaky, we are reminded to really look at what we stand on. And our faith, when it's firm and we are securely standing on God, the stuff around us, it can spin us, it can leave us feeling a little bit shattered, it can leave us feeling a bit like we're swaying in the wind, perhaps a blizzard. But it is something that we can kind of fall back on and just know that God has got us. So if you're in a bit of a rough time this week, if you've had a bit of a, unshakable, kind of unshakable but shakeable. I guess it's one of those things. It's one of those moments where you remember what you stand on, but also it can leave you a bit shaken in other ways. If you've had one of those weeks, I just want to say, you have our thoughts and our prayers, praying that you understand that God he's a God who is in those moments as well. And I deeply mean that. And just, we're covering you guys in prayer. Guys, before we just came on, we're actually listening to Warrior by Hannah Kerr. Perhaps that's a really good insight. Maybe there's an aspect of you that's developing. Maybe God's actually using these tougher times to develop you, to nurture you, obviously, to develop you in difficult ways. And that's often where he does he's chipping away and restoring who he wants us to be. And what can emerge from that is a stronger, more focused on him individual. And I think the element of warrior, it can sometimes be what we need. We need that sort of focus on, I'm going to push through. Anyway, I want to say again, well done. You've made it through another week. We have done it. And I'm hoping and praying that this coming week is going to fill your life with blessing upon blessing. I can only just hope and pray that for you. I think it's amazing how God shows himself in all circumstances, in those moments that are fantastic and those moments that aren't. But again, flip it around, in those moments that aren't and those moments that are. And we can see him in all things, all creation, all things. He's a good God. He works all of his ways are to bring back good. He's a God who knows what he's doing. We can trust that. We are talking over the next little bit. We have been talking about marriage, And certainly marriage is one of those things, isn't it, that we can have moments where there's good and there's not so good. We're going to talk about that specifically this week. We're going to break it down and kind of look at circumstances or life stages that, there might be those moments or those elements of good or those moments of, not so good. And we're going to challenge ourselves to keep fighting through whatever we are experiencing, whatever we're working on and whatever working through, particularly if we happen to be somebody who's married and working together through life with our spouse. We're going to talk about the real stuff. So stick with us and we'll explore it some more together this morning. Looking forward to it. Welcome back, Coasties. That was Need to Breathe with The Cave. How you doing this morning? Let me just ask you, how are you going? Hopefully you are just feeling all the good things. Hopefully you are ready to go. You're buzzing. You're just ready to take off and enjoy a fantastic day. I'm crossing my toes, my fingers, and anything else that I can find that might be crossable for you, that you are indeed on your way to an awesome day, and I mean that. I really do. From the whole team here at Rhema, I just want to say welcome to Sunday. Welcome to a new beginning. A new beginning in a few different ways. It's Sunday. It's a new week. And before too long, we'll actually have a new beginning by Greg Laurie. I always love listening to Greg Laurie. He just kind of keeps it simple and keeps it straight to the point, I think. I think culturally, actually, that's kind of who we are on the coast. We can kind of be a people who, just cut to it, just get to the point. Let's just get it, And I think Greg Laurie his way of speaking to us can often be that way. Don't dance around words, just get straight to it. And how do we fix it? And that's actually what we're talking a little bit along the lines of this morning, and actually the last few weeks for really the whole of May. We've been talking about marriage. I am not someone to dance around wasting time, if you like. I think for myself, I think we can sit and we can talk about what we're going to do over and over and over. We can talk about the issues. But how are we actually going to do it? That's what it comes down to. I don't know about your marriages, but I would say my husband probably finds me a little bit frustrating in that way, in that I'm let's not sit and talk about this, let's actually do something with it kind of gal. And he's a lot better with me now. I think at first it used to drive him crazy. I'm speaking, my thoughts, so that may not be accurate, but I think it used to drive him crazy when I was like, that's great. Yeah, we can talk about this all you like, but what are we going to do about it? And this is the reality with our marriages, guys. If we are going to be a community who, we as a Christian community, we are to be valuing marriage. Marriage is a God-ordained union. It's a beautiful creation. It is, the recognition that he loves how he has modeled, he's designed us to be understanding him through the union of marriage. It's a combination of masculinity and femininity coming together. It's a combination of the willingness or ability to be matter of fact, or to be someone who's subtle and dances through poetry. It's a combination of lots of different colours of lives merging together. It's, some are maybe very black and white in their thinking, and the other may be someone who brings the colour out and says, come on, let's bring some fun to this. Marriage is a union that we see two beautiful individuals who, especially when you're talking Christian context, the acknowledgement that God is the creator of both individuals, merging together as one union and really just clinging to each other. And there is, I've mentioned it week in and week out in the last little bit, cleaving, and the whole cleaving process of leaving behind the old and cleaving to what is supposed to be or is likely to be the ideal. Now, there's a lot in that, and it's a process, and I don't know if we ever fully get there. We certainly can make steps to get there, but I think there's always elements of our upbringing that pop up every so often, all that sort of thing. But my point is that sometimes we hit these moments where things pop up that we just think, oh, I did not see that. Now, a few weeks ago, I was actually away with my husband, and one morning we're actually at a place that is a Christian retreat here on the coast. Really beautiful, beautiful spot, and the hospitality, it was just phenomenal. Let me just say that. And we woke up on I think it was the second last day before we were going home. I'm not sure if it was the last day or the second last day. And from the room that we were staying in, you could look across the water, because it was a place on the water on the coast, and you could see that there was this fog just sitting there. Now, I grabbed my camera, my phone, and took some photos, because to me, I just automatically went into, wow, that is so cool. Where I was standing, everything was clear. It was really, we could see everything so clearly, but from the, looking across the water at the distance, to our right was just this really strange cloud. It was just a big fog. And so I took photos of it, because I just thought, no, this is a really great analogy for life sometimes. And marriage is no exception. Sometimes we can be stuck inside the fog where we can't see out, and we just think, oh, this is all too hard. This is just too hard. I can't make sense of this. I can't get out of it. If you are thinking specifically marriage, you may be thinking, I can't work with this person. I can't live with this person. This is just too hard. But what I want to say is that from the outside, we were standing there looking in at this fog, and it was clear. Sometimes when we're in the fog in our marriages, sometimes when things just feel like they're all too hard, we have to trust what's on the outside. Sometimes we need to hold on to each other together. We need to grab our spouse, by the hand and say, we can't see where we are at the moment, but let's look ahead, because I think there's some clear skies ahead. Now, that sounds so cliche, but it's not. It's a reality that many of us, we can be in these periods of time that are just so hard to navigate. And we do need to hold on to each other. It's almost like walking blindly. But there is hope through that fog. We've just got to keep taking the steps until that fog is lifted. Now, every situation, every marriage is totally different. I understand that. I get it. But I want to urge you, if you are someone of the faith, of Christian faith, if you are someone who says, I love God, but you're struggling in your marriage, I want to encourage you to keep laying it before God and praying. And if your spouse will allow it, to pray together. If you are someone who is just on your own, if you are the only person in your relationship who is of faith, or you feel like your spouse has lost their way in terms of their faith, your prayers are going to go a long way. And it may look different to what you hope. It may look like it's... at times it may feel like there's just no point in spending time in prayer. But I want to encourage you, God knows what is happening before we do. He knows how intimate, He knows us so intimately that He knows our problems before we can recognize what's actually going on behind them. Spend as much time as you can. If I can urge you in any way this morning, guys, if you are here this morning fighting for your marriage, I want to pray for you, and I want you to be aware that that marriage, when we hold on to God, we talked about this last week, that third cord, holding on to God, holding on to the spouse as much as we can. Maybe they're pushing us away at times, but holding on to God as much as you can, and just, for the sake of the hopefully a clearer future, holding on to God and just saying, I trust you through this fog. It's going to be hard to trust you at times. I'm sure there's those thoughts. But I just want to urge you to keep looking ahead, and keep, that understanding that God does value marriage, and He values your vows. He values your promises, and it is so worth it when you can get to the other side of those really difficult times. I'll leave it there, guys. We're going to talk some other sort of situations through marriage this morning, but I just wanted to encourage you. You are not on your own. God knows it. He's seen it. He knows all the ins and outs of what's happening. He knows those difficult situations. He knows those personality traits that kind of, from time to time can be too hard to work with. He knows the behaviours. He knows the addictions. He knows the things that are going on behind the scenes. My encouragement to you is that you keep bringing it before him and you leave it with him. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there myself right now, and I'll see you before too long. See you soon, guys. And that was Bless the Lord by Afrobeats Worship. Good morning. Good morning. And a huge good morning to you guys. Welcome to Rhema CC. I am Lindy Jones. I'm I happen to be a Sunday morning host. And I want to say thank you for doing Sunday mornings with me. It's amazing that we get to hang out together in some form. Hope your Sunday morning is rolling around beautifully and that it is is progressing, as you'd want it. Hope you've got a big smile on your face and you're ready to enjoy whatever is awaiting you. Sunday morning is a great opportunity for you to slow down in some ways and embrace what you can in other ways. I think sometimes not having that routine that we probably, a lot of us have, maybe it's work, maybe it's school, maybe it's both, but just being able to just roll with it it's so important just to kind of call time out sometimes, isn't it? Just listen to God, to those things that we probably neglect or ignore during the week. It may be even something to do with ourselves. It may be something that we have forgotten to sort of channel in. Maybe there's an anxiety that you have just been overlooking and pushing through a week. Sunday morning is a good time to just leave that with God, to prayerfully consider how you can, piece by piece, just keep handing it towards him. Now, guys, we've been talking marriage really the last few weeks, actually. And this morning, we've so far kind of covered those tricky circumstances where things aren't going real good, where things can be a little bit foggy, a bit hazy, maybe really, really hazy. We've also discussed how it can look from the outside when there are those sort of hazy periods. I don't think I really mentioned before just the relevance of when we are in those hazy periods, being mindful of people that can help us through it, the resources that are around us, the things that help us, see that there is hope on the other side, that there is a clearer picture ahead. And I want to encourage you just to go back on that a little bit, just to look into your own world. What sort of resources, if you are someone who is struggling in your marriage at the moment, or a marriage that is it's in a bit of a difficult place, I want to encourage you to look at the resources that are available to help you, them, whoever it happens to be, to find that. And that might be through just even speaking to a pastor in the local area. It might be through a counsellor. It might be through a psychologist. It might be through other means. There might be financial situations that are contributing. There might be behavioural things like, I did mention addiction. There can be sort of elements of that might be needing to be addressed. But look at the professionals in the world that can help you, kind of glide and slide through the circumstances that are hazy, I guess. And that's my encouragement to you. I understand that it can be tricky when there's financial pressures, when you're trying to just make it work, and you can't always pay professionals to help you with that stuff. But I would encourage you as much as I can personally to get the help from outside if you do need it. And there's certainly options for that. I think my point in that is to say that God wants us to continue striving for healthy and happy marriages. He doesn't want us to just toss it in and say it's too hard. And I get it. We live in a world that's how we do things. Too hard, off we go. We're done. So it can be very countercultural to be doing things a different way and say, you know what, I'm in here. I'm sticking it out as much as I can. Now, certainly, obviously, I've mentioned lots of times here on a Sunday morning that there are circumstances where you need to be safe. If there's situations there that we need to be mindful of, obviously, we want you to stay as safe as possible. But when we look at marriage as God has intended, he wants us to strive for what we promised, which was, I'm here, I'm doing this, I'm in for the long run. I'm going to try and do things as best as I can. Now, part of that let's kind of spin again in a different direction. Part of that might mean that we have to be mindful of the things that are going to pull us from our spouse. What are the situations or circumstances? What are the things that are likely to distract us from turning in towards our partner and instead moving away? Well, I think life stage can certainly be a part of that. I think, there's different eras that we sort of go through as we progress through life. If you're thinking of a young family, and throwing out some examples here, there may be one partner that's struggling with the idea of being a parent. So a part of them may be just looking at options outside. What can I do for some fun? Instead of saying, I'm here to support you. And that's sadly quite normal. It's kind of one of those things that I think, obviously things like postnatal depression can be a part of that too, but there are elements where, there's situations where you just think, you see a spouse who just can't cope with the responsibilities, whether that's physical, the logistical sort of stuff when it comes to raising a family. It may be emotional. It may be psychological. There may not be enough psychological development for a parent to say, I'm here, I want to support my spouse. But I want to encourage you, if you are someone who is striving to live as God has intended, then my encouragement is to you to look inside and see what your spouse needs, because they might just need you. In fact, I would say if you've got a young family, there's a pretty good chance that you do need each other, and in different ways. Perhaps you are someone who is, let's move it forward a little bit more. Perhaps you're someone sort of that middle-aged bracket where you've got your routine. You know how things work in your home. It's just kind of mundane and boring. Let's just be brutal. Sometimes there are times in our lives where we can look across the room and think, oh, well, I know what you're going to have. You're going to have a cup of tea with, 1 sugar, 2 sugars, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're going to do this morning. Sorry about that. And then from there, the day is going to roll out like this. Things can become so mundane and boring that we forget to really listen to our spouse. We forget to find the excitement. We forget to find the adventure that life has given us. We forget to stand before God and say, I'm still in this adventure with this person, God, so we trust you. Both of us trust you to bring on the fun. We might not know how to do that at this stage because we've become so ingrained in how we do things that it's just got stale. So there's my challenge to you. How are you going to spice things up on a romantic level, but an emotional level as well? How are you going to make things fun again? How are you going to honour the union of marriage in those circumstances where you are needing to have fun together? Now, there might be health concerns. Let's say we move forward again. If we look at a life stage where we're looking at, those older sort of years, there may be health circumstances popping up that you suddenly go, oh, this is where I'm being challenged on my promise to be here in sickness and in health. My question to you in those circumstances is, how are you going to honour your words, your vows, the things that you promised on the day that you got married? How are you going to do that as best as you can? Now, every situation, every marriage is different, obviously. But my point here this morning, guys, is I'm asking the hard questions because down to life stages, we are going to come across similarities. We're going to find things that sort of at different times pull us away from our spouse. And God is calling us to be unified with our spouse so that together we are a stronger union, so that together and individually we are stronger, so that together we can go through our communities, our wider region, whether that's church, whether that's sporting groups, it doesn't matter. It's a unity that God is wanting to put on display. And there's a community out there that don't know how good marriage can be. We've got a really, really big challenge before us, really, to be able to live honourable marriages that are real, not that are fake. You know, it's not all, let's just put a smile on our face because we're about to get out of the car at church, and we don't want them to think that, you know, we're not together, that we, you know, there are moments, we are going to have moments like that. That's the reality. But if our commitment to one another and our determination to stand strong and firm on our faith, as well as be completely interwoven with the other person, the communities around us, the people around us are going to look and think, that's something to be strived towards. I want that for myself. And what happens from that? God gets the glory, guys. The way we live, the way we do things, the way that we live, it's all about pointing it back up to Him. Because, yeah, we can live great lives. We can get to the end of our life and we can look back and think that was awesome. But it runs deeper. The people that we are in the world, it runs deeper, and people watch how we live our family lives. Does that mean we have to have it all together? Absolutely not. In fact, I think that's just fake. It's not real. We don't have it all together all the time. But that's where that third chord comes in, that willingness to go, all right, God, messed up again, don't know what I'm doing. You're going to have to step in on this one because I need you. That's where that comes in. And I think we've got an opportunity to show Him off. So my encouragement to you this morning is to grab hold of your spouse, not literally, I mean grab hold emotionally, prayerfully, spiritually, if we're talking that way, prayerfully lay before God, our spouse, and say, God, I want to see this man or this woman blessed. Bless them. You know their heart. Teach me how to love them most and as best as I can. Teach me how to nurture them. Teach me how to provide for them. Teach me how to be the best spouse that I can for my wife, my husband, whatever. It's about God. It's about honouring Him. It's about pointing back to Him. It's about saying His design is perfect. And yes, we've messed it up, but He still has this beautiful creation called marriage, and we are not going to give up on it based on the experiences that we've had, maybe the life circumstances, maybe the choices that our spouse has made. We're not going to reject marriage because of those things that have made us question it. Anyway, that's a big one, but I just want to challenge you guys. Keep an open mind and keep throwing yourself back before God and asking the big hard questions if you need to. And be prepared for Him to, work through them. And more than that, be prepared for others to see Him through the marriages that we highlight, the way that we live our lives. Others are watching, and it's a pretty huge responsibility. Anyway, we'll be back soon. I'll see you soon, guys. And that was One Step Away by Casting Crowns. Good morning and welcome to Rhema CC. It is a delight to have you guys with us. I am Lindy. Thank you for joining me this morning. I do mean that. It is always, honestly, an absolute delight to spend my Sunday mornings with you. And I hope that it is a delight for you to be living your Sunday all day today. I hope that your Sunday is going to be pretty phenomenal. Crossing my fingers, my toes, and saying a very big prayer for each of you. We do love, knowing that you guys have got our backs and that you are you're tuning in at different times throughout the week. It means so much to us here at Rhema CC. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for the awareness that this community is better with Christian radio. Thank you for your willingness to get behind us in whatever capacity you can. And obviously it's been Volunteers Week this week. I know for myself it's been, I'm actually finishing up at Hope Cottage. You guys, I've mentioned a few times, I'm finishing up this Thursday. So the awareness of just, the value of volunteers is just, there's just not enough there's no words to explain. I know for myself, I have loved working with the volunteers I've been working with. The community cannot thrive without our volunteers. If you are somebody who has been volunteering over the past, little bit, even for a long time, thank you. Thank you for putting yourself out there and contributing and just being willing to just step in where maybe you might not even be overly comfortable with doing what you're doing, but whether you have loved it or been very reluctant, your willingness to serve is just phenomenal. So we obviously here at Rhema, obviously most of us are volunteers in some capacity, and it's certainly one of those things. I think volunteers are just phenomenal. So again, pat on the back to you guys if you happen to be out there doing that. But also, we just want to say thank you for your support. I heard actually Linda this week talking about how, there can be those different ways that we volunteer. It might be a practical sort of, might just be turning up to help out with things, but it could actually be a financial contribution. There's so many different ways that we can volunteer ourselves. And whatever you're able to offer is greatly appreciated. Especially from us here at Rhema CC. Anyway, guys, we're talking marriage in the month of May. We've been talking about a few different things this morning. We haven't really sort of zoomed in on one particular thing because it's big. There's so many different avenues and aspects of marriage. But there's different life stages we might go through, different circumstances that we may come across that can kind of shake things up a bit and make things a little bit uncomfortable at times. We started to talk in the last little section about protecting our marriages, and that can be a protection from boredom, it can be a protection from routine, it can be a protection from looking out to other things that might be more fun. We might be at a season where things are too hard in our marriage, so we look at hanging out with our mates instead of just going, no, I've got some responsibilities to attend to. My wife needs me, my husband needs me, I need to be there. But certainly there's other aspects. There's things that we can find ourselves, if we look at the workplace statistically, you are more likely to see people having an affair and, stepping outside of their marriage in a situation where there is a workplace relationship than any other circumstance. So certainly monitoring how much time we are spending at the office or in the workshop or wherever we happen to be. Monitoring the relationships that we have, being very cautious with that sort of thing can be a big step in how we can protect and guard our marriages. Now, why is that important? Well, we live in a world that tells you it's probably not. When I say they, I mean much of society has this sort of tone of, if you just want it, well, okay, they shouldn't do that, but, it's okay. And I don't think that's what the Christian faith is based on. God values marriage. We are certainly told through Scripture that where adultery takes place, there are grounds for divorce. Now, God hates divorce. That's a written thing. That's a biblical, that's a biblical principle. God does hate divorce, but it is a grounds for divorce if we are looking at adultery. It's pretty serious. So if we're going to protect our marriages from adulterous sort of relationships, and I say that on so many different levels. It can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be there's so many different types of affairs where there's this straying, where there's there's a line that gets crossed. We're going to try and protect our marriages from that, and we have to turn into each other. We have to recognise our marriages. We have to work out what things are the weaknesses, what's going to pull us away from our spouse, and work out what things we're going to do to prevent those situations leading us into another person, another situation, another organisation, whatever. It is that pulling away, that's that division that we are trying to avoid. And we need to look at our own marriages and work out what's going on in them, because if we know what's going on with them, we can work with them. A little one, but a big one, all in one. I'm going to leave it there, guys, but my challenge again, I've got a few challenges for you guys this morning, obviously, but another challenge is look at your marriage. Where is there an opportunity for the devil to get a foothold? What have you got to slam shut? What have you got to say, no, this is not happening. My marriage means too much to me. And that may mean big things like, not working as many hours. It may be changing jobs. It may be it may be moving house. It may be all sorts of things. I know somebody that I love deeply, I had no idea that they had been through this, but years after, confided in me and told me that they had moved down from, a higher part of the coast, I say New South Wales, back down to Sydney because they realised that their marriage was in a position where there was some fragile stuff, and they knew that they would be crossing boundaries that were not appropriate if they kept at it, and if they stayed in the area. If you value your marriage, it may mean making a really tough call. God values marriage. He values you clinging to your wife or your husband. He values and appreciates and respects and supports marriages that honour him. And we've got a choice. How are we going to do it? Are we going to give up and we just surrender and go, oh, it doesn't matter? Or are we going to choose to do things as best as we can? Anyway, I just want to encourage you, look at Scripture, spend some time with God, and recognise again the beauty in marriage. And then when you're ready, get ready to protect it as best as you can. All right, I'll see you around before too long. That was Who Am I with Need to Breathe. Other way around, Need to Breathe, Who Am I? That's how I probably should have said it. Anyway, welcome back to Rhema CC. I'm Lindy, and it is Sunday morning. For those of you who are a bit sleepy, maybe you're a bit of a sleepy head, welcome to Sunday morning, and welcome to hopefully the start of a fantastic week. I really do mean that. We do. We honestly mean that. Guys, we've been talking all sorts of weird things this morning. Not weird, but kind of, quite heavy, but also not heavy. Same thing. It's all positive stuff. It's all good stuff. We've been talking marriage. Some people may roll their eyes at that and go, ugh, marriage, love and all that stuff. Yeah, it is about love and all that stuff, but it's also about a deeper sort of element of marriage. And that element is commitment. It's an element of recognition of promises, and there's a lot of deeper stuff in it. Now, for those of you who are married out there, I can probably almost guarantee that if you looked back at when you first got married and what you saw for your life together with your spouse, there was probably elements there that you think, yeah, no, I did not see that happening, or I did not see that occurring, or I did not see myself choosing that, or this person doing that, or I didn't see this situation popping up, and yet it happened. Life is about surprises, and sometimes they're beautiful, sometimes they're a bit like, oh my goodness, did not anticipate that, and I don't really know how to work around it. Certainly God works in all of it. We've talked about that this morning. He's a God who is in all the seasons. He's in the winter when things are not so great and it's cold and miserable. He's in the spring where things are popping up and there's some real beauty in understanding him and our spouse. He's in those moments where there's achievement and, there's different, there's things where there can be times in marriages where we have to, if we look at autumn, which we're very, very close to being out of at the moment, but we are technically in autumn still. You see the leaves changing and things sort of getting pulled back. Sometimes in marriage we need to be like that. We need to pull back on whether it's choices, whether it's having possessions that we don't actually need. Sometimes it can simply be as clearing that out and getting rid of it. There's different seasons that we go through in marriage, and I think that's actually a really good way to understand it, really. But yeah, I think wherever we are, we can acknowledge that when we have a decision that we are holding on to, when we remember the promises that we made on our wedding day, regardless of how things have unfolded in our lives since that point, it is a promise. If we are married and we are we are someone of faith, the ideal is to just keep moving towards making things as best as that we can in our marriages. It is to be honourable to God. It is honourable to the creation of marriage, the unity of marriage, the way that God wants us to understand him through our interactions with our spouse. There is an element of praise when we can spend time with our spouse and really be thanking God for who they are. There is a beautiful connection there. It happens obviously with our spouse, but also it goes above and beyond. It becomes a deeply spiritual connection to God. When you can say thank you to God for your spouse, and I want to encourage you, there's lots of things I'm throwing out to you guys this morning. This is my biggest challenge. Being able to say thank you to God for your spouse. I want to urge you to do that in whatever way you can, whatever capacity. Things might be tough, but find just one or two things to say thank you to God for, because she is a gift. Spouses they're a gift. They honestly are. And I encourage you, actually, you know what, right now, if you happen to be driving and you're in the car beside your spouse, I want to encourage you to look across and say, you are pretty fantastic. And yeah, it sounds like crazy, but sometimes seriously, we just need to hear that. I want to encourage you, if you're in the middle of a fight right now, if you two are arguing about something and you're hearing my voice, I want to encourage you to stop that argument for just a minute and actually just tell each other something that you love about each other. It's one of those little tools, I think, that, it's funny. I do the same thing with my kids when they're arguing. I say, all right, come on, guys. Right, instead of doing this, we're going to sit here and tell each other what we love about each other. The mood shifts. When we are thankful for our spouse, we are thankful for the gift of marriage. We are thankful that we have someone to do life with. Instead of looking at the things where we've been faulted or the things that our spouse has failed in, flipping it on its head, and understanding that God has given us a gift through our spouse. I hope you're going to have a great week this week, guys. And honestly, our marriages are a mission. They're a mission for others to see. They're a beautiful mission field. People can see and understand how we interact based on how we do marriage. And so maybe we need to step it up a bit. Maybe we need to try harder. Maybe we just need to spend some time in prayer. Maybe we need to listen to God. Maybe God's calling, time out, just saying, just spend some time with me so I can work on whatever it is that's going on for you guys, with you. I don't mean to be disrespectful in any way, because I understand every marriage is different. But God has designed marriage. And this is my call to you guys today. Embrace it. If you are married, embrace your spouse as best as you can. Be as loving as you can. And tell them they're pretty fantastic, because I've got a pretty good understanding and a good belief that there is fantastic in every one of us. Anyway, I'm out of here. Enjoy church on the radio. I'm going to see you guys back here Sunday morning as we wrap up Marriage Month. I'll see you then. Have an awesome week, guys. See ya.